For your roll for attendance. If you haven't already done so, go ahead and do that. We're going to complete tonight the discussion on Chapter 1 on the beginning of Network Security, Chapter 1. We're going to start with the Cybercriminals and what they are and category that they fit into and who they target. And I believe this presentation ends with the different jobs that are out there in network security. So, a cybercrime basically is just a targeted attack against a financial network, unauthorized access to information, theft of information. We've seen that with Zappos this week. Financial network does not mean just banks. It means any network within an organization that deals with finance. Last night, talking about Zappos, they released that the details are a little bit more dangerous than they originally revealed as far as what the hackers might have gotten a hold of. I think I told you guys Tuesday just the last four of the credit card number and then their contact information. They seem to think they now have, they released anyway, that they also retrieved the passwords and some other information that they just now released to the public. So financial cybercrime is often divided in two categories: trafficking and stolen credit card numbers, and then financial information, and then using spam to commit fraud. And we'll learn more about spam this semester and what it's about. You might have heard the term or you know a little bit about it. It's more than just email, spam is. And so there's everything from pop-ups, advertisements, software. Cyberterrorists. This has come on the scene since 9/11. You've heard this term a lot, cyberterrorists, and actually have a division in the federal government. Plus, in a lot of local municipalities have cyberterrorist divisions. The city of Rockford, even in the last year, has their own CSI cyberterrorist division now that they've hired about 4 or 5 folks for, that focus on nothing but online scams, email, child pornography, anything that has to do with illegal activity on computers. We now have here in the state line, so that's pretty neat. But cyber terrorist motivation may be defined by ideology or religious belief. It doesn't say the book religious belief, but really where you see cyber terrorists as a whole in large segments, it's usually a religious sect or a group of folks that we saw in the mindset of 9/11, which has their morals are driven by their religious views, however radical they might be. And so there's no reasoning with some of these folks as far as human nature, that you and I both would, lean towards, they have no regard towards human nature, towards life. In fact, I did one of my degrees in theology, and one of the biggest battles we've ever had in the world have all centered around religion. A lot of more blood's been spilled over that than anything. And so today, though, instead of blood being spilled, it's all done through other means. Cyber terrorism would be one of them. And so the goal of a cyber attack is to deface electronic information, spread misinformation. You've heard of Al-Qaeda, might have even been to their website before. China's good at this as well. Propaganda, telling their people what they want them to know, not really the truth, but what they want them to know. And also keeping from people information. I don't know if you saw this week going all over the web and on Facebook about Congress, the 2 bills coming up on, limiting our freedom and how Wikipedia is shut down for about 24 hours because of it. And the guise of the bills are good, which is stopping crimes like we're talking about tonight and spam and things of that nature. But in the process, it would limit businesses from activity they want to perform their day in, day out business. And so there are some things that are bad about it and wrong about it. But when it comes to cyber attack and the goals of cyber attacks. It's also to deny service to legitimate computer users and to commit unauthorized intrusion into systems and networks that result in a critical infrastructure outages and corruption of vital data. In the last couple of years, there's been a lot of thwarts against cyber attacks. And what they've generally done, even in Chicago, they've stopped a couple of them where they tried to take over the grid, the electronic grid of a city. And because if you can take over the electronic grid, meaning stoplights, railway or subway, everything that runs upon electronics, communication, phones, because all your phones run on electricity now, not just pure analog. And so digital cell phones, shutting their towers down, disabling. If they can limit that, they can do whatever. And so they thwarted 2 or 3 attempts in the last, I don't have the exact date, they won't give you the exact date, but I was told that we've been thwarted about 2 or 3 times in the last 2 years. They've caught some sects trying to come in and do this type of thing. I did find out one bit of information, which was a person was hired for the city of Chicago, and that was one of them that they thwarted about a year ago. He was a good employee and very intelligent, and it was just by happenstance they stumbled upon this guy and what he was doing. Otherwise, it would have probably succeeded. And so it was a snafu on his part. And so, but there's a lot of these things that go on that we don't hear about every day. But cyber terrorism is real, and it's the way folks attack today. Groups attack, whereas before it was gangs with guns and rifles and knives and sticks, to now it's electronically done. Defenses, attacks and defenses, although there's a wide variety of attacks that can be launched against a computer network, the same basic steps are used in most attacks, and we're going to go over these right now. There's 5 fundamental security principles. The 5 steps for most attacks, and they can vary, are these. First, the person probes for information for a while, just like even though they've proven before 9/11 that there was a lot of investigation prior to the attack happening. Many years, in fact, of investigation and probing and finding information. Penetration is the second one. All the defenses. Using a 9/11 scenario, folks were beginning to get hired and trained in the airport system, become pilots and become mechanics and get badges and infiltrate the actual system that's supposed to be protected. And then modify security settings while they're in the system, circulate to other systems, and then paralyze the networks and devices. That last step could take a while. And that's why it's so hard. It's not like anytime you hear of a big, like this week with the Zappos, that didn't happen overnight. I guarantee you that probably took a good year for that to happen, at least a year for that to happen. Something that large and that detailed, it could, I don't know all the details, I'm just speculating, but somebody could have been hired from Zappos that helped them out. We don't know. It's all not, and we probably won't know everything anyway. They won't tell everybody the whole truth. But I think I told you Tuesday, a lot of times within networking security, folks think it's all about hardware, software, security, protocols, which it is. It's a lot of it. But a lot of it has to also do with social networking, social engineering. And so you might not be as technical, or people that attack your network might not be as technical, but they might be very good at social engineering and networking to where they can get information that they need. And you've heard the term devils in the details. These folks will wait. They don't lose anything by waiting. In fact, they usually gain, because the more and more things are quiet on the home front, what is the human nature when things are quiet? When things are good and going well, what's human nature to kind of be on guard or kind of let your guard down? So same with networking. So when you're in network security, things are going great, and And for convenience purposes, you maybe start lacking off on things, like maybe checking people's cards as they come through to make sure it matches who they say they are, from going in and out the doors, passwords, begin to get lax on all of these areas, and then a year down the road, your network's attacked. So little by little, networks can be compromised through these steps, and none of these steps are quick and a day or two type of step. So here's a screenshot of a scenario of a possible attack. Okay, you've got over here a person spending maybe a couple months probing the network at their workplace. And they're doing network ping sweeps that you'll learn how to do this semester, port scanning you'll learn how to do, ICMP queries you'll learn how to do, password guessing. Next week, actually, we do a lab on called NT Reset that actually resets the admin password or any password on a computer within about a minute. So they might spend a while actually doing that, investigating, probing information. They might not even know what they want to do yet, but they know they want to do something malicious. It might be this person here was a great person coming into the company, but they were overlooked for a couple of advances. Maybe somebody right out of college, like you guys, get hired over them, and they've been there 20 years. I've seen that happen, and so and they become disgruntled and want to start, doing something about it. And so, step 2. Penetrate any defenses. He figures out finally how to maybe get in and create maybe a backdoor or a Trojan, put in a Trojan into the server, into the mail server somehow from an outside source. It's real easy to set up a rogue email address. Anybody can set up an email today. You don't have to have credentials. And you can not only that, but you can also, if you research it enough, figure out how to send something anonymously from a public cafe, library, where there's maybe no cameras around and nothing's traced and nobody's going to figure out where it came from, and guise your IP address to get in that email possibly that goes into the network that has a program attached to it that when everybody clicks on it, maybe one day they send an email, they give it 2 or 3 days to penetrate the system and its defenses through that email. And it might not really, the network administrator is not going to know anything. It might open up one port. We'll say it opens up a port, that's it, to the outside world. That's all it does, nothing more than that. So 2 or 3 days later, they come in, and because of the compromised port, they can now come in and begin to install outside of the business. He can now go outside of the business and remote in through that backdoor port and begin doing some dirty work, changing configurations, putting in there, you'll hear of a term called time bomb, a time bomb logic to where things fire at a certain date and time. An example for this guy to get a little bit in his mind, he might time bomb it to where it's at the date, maybe a year from the date that he was supposed to get his promotion. That's when he's going to do it. That's when it's going to happen. Because a lot of these hacks actually are set upon some time or date in the future. Not really an event, it's just a time that the hackers created and said this is what's going to happen. That's when you hear, because you hear a lot of fear, like, okay, in 2000, we heard the millennium bug fear, right? And every year, there's something that is a date, you get the Valentine's Day bug, the love bug that hit years back. So they create and have modified security settings on step 3, step 4. Then it begins to circulate to other systems, maybe email virus to address book, which actually, this one has been real popular over the years, where an email virus actually, when a person opens it up, it takes that same virus and sends it to everybody in their contact list from that person. So it says, hey Joe, open this file. Joe opens it up because it's from me, and it now infects Joe's computer and the entire network that he or she's on. Okay? So not just your business, but multiple businesses. In fact, you'll learn this semester, we'll go over, and a student did a report on this for his final last semester where, I believe it was Melissa virus, that they literally had to shut down servers, just shut them down. Just shut down everything, shut down the networks, shut it all down. A lot of businesses shut them down. That's the only way to quarantine it. There was no way they could do it while the system was running. They had to shut it down from any activity happening and then take it offline and begin working on it. And then finally, paralyzing a network could be crashing a server, denial of service, deleting files. And so, again, this whole process could happen overnight, but more than likely it's going to take days or weeks for this to happen. And a lot of stuff we're seeing in networking security actually is a replicate of things over and over again, just renamed, morphed a little bit, and then pushed out again. Okay? So not really, this person doesn't have to have a real knowledge base. They just know how to search in Google. How to hack my computer network. How to hack my boss's machine. Whatever, right? Tons of resources can be downloaded at no cost and really no knowledge base to do it. So it's pretty scary when you think about it. But that's why network administrators and network security folks are in high demand today, because the technology is growing ever so fast. The user's knowledge also is growing faster and faster, because this generation, high school to college age generation, is much more net savvy than they were 10 years ago or 5 years ago or 1 year ago. And so each generation becomes to where businesses are actually, what's happening is businesses are hiring folks that are more savvy than their network admin coming in the door. It's the truth. And so what they're doing is they're actually, when you guys graduate from here and then maybe go to 2 more years, or say you just get here and get your associates in networking or Cisco or whatever, or network security, you can get jobs over guys that have been in the field for 20 years. And the reason for that is 2 reasons. One is you can get paid a lot less. Number 2, your knowledge base, even though you might not have had 20 years experience, could be much broader, just because you've used technology on a day in and out basis, maybe more so than the network admin has in 20 years, if that makes sense. Because everything that you do and everything that you're involved with on a day in day out basis has to do with technology and security. And so a lot of these things you understand. And also you're willing to learn more. Sometimes with seasoned network admins, they're not so willing to learn and be flexible about things. And so in this field, in this generation of network admins, whether you're young or old, you've got to be flexible to learn and to keep going and keep learning. I'd say probably half a dozen times a year I go to get upgraded and to learn the new technology, because it grows so fast, and so it's a constant learning and educating of yourself. And so I know you guys are going to school here full time, you're working full time maybe. Even after you get out of school, you're going to keep learning, keep going to seminars, keep going to conferences, keep teaching yourself and keeping updated on all the new technology coming out. Because it doesn't take much reasoning to understand it. It's just coming at you like this, basically, all the time. And so you find what your niche is, hopefully while you're in school, and will it change maybe in 5 years what your niche is? Probably so, but that's okay. That knowledge base you gain now, though, you'll always use in whatever field it is you go into in networking or network security, okay? So let's go on to the next slide here. It talks about some of the defenses. We know now who attacks, maybe why they attack. Might be religious, might be because they're a disgruntled employee, might be for a number of reasons. But some defenses against attack, although multiple defenses may be necessary to withstand an attack, these defenses should be based on 5 fundamental security principles. Some type of layering system. We'll talk about a term called honeypot this semester, which is a popular term in network security. A honeypot is a technology term, network security term, to where basically you leave a system open in your network that attracts hackers on purpose. Ports are open, services are running. You want people to come to that server. The reason why you want them to come to that server is to trap them in that layer. So protect your systems by layering. We'll talk about that. Limiting maybe security, limiting access, You may have heard, the term out of sight, out of mind. I'm a big believer in that. When I first started in networking 25 years ago, I'm a programmer too, and so I programmed all the security programs that we had in the businesses I worked for. And at that time, they were very, very much tied down and made the user real irritable because I wouldn't let them do anything. They couldn't do anything they weren't supposed to. And if they did something they weren't supposed to, I would do something like, lock the screen or something and make a beeping sound until somebody came by from IT to unlock the machine. So I went from that mentality all the way now present day where I want folks to be able to do their work and whatever that capacity might be, and then anything that is secure or needs to be secure, I don't want them to get to, I hide from them. They don't even get to see it. And so, because human nature is, if they see something, for instance, a folder that says, advances, or payroll, or whatever, reviews. Human nature is they're going to want to see it either maybe not now, but maybe a year from now after they've been passed over 3 or 4 times in job promotion. Okay? And so if they can't even see that folder, then I'm not going to be tempted to try to get into it. All right? And so there are ways you'll learn about this semester of doing that. And then diversity is another one. Different types of users on your network. A whole diverse type. You've got the admin types, you've got the power user types, you've got the limited users, the guest accounts that just coming in and out of your network. All of these are a big diverse group, so you can't just have a blanket security for everybody. It's got to be diverse and constantly changing. Obscurity. This kind of has to go with what I already mentioned on the out of sight, out of mind, that the network security that you apply is so obscure that the user doesn't see it, if that makes sense. Okay? And so an example on this would be the program I talked about earlier, I developed years ago, that was really overwhelming to the user and cumbersome to them. It went from that to a program that still did basically what it needed to do, blocking sites that you weren't supposed to go to, or redirecting sites. If an application was run they weren't supposed to run, instead of giving them a message or locking the computer or whatever, it would just kill the application. Just kill it. It let it run about 2 seconds and then kill it. That's it. Nobody came to IT because they weren't supposed to get to the application anyway. So, worked great. Then went to where behind the scenes, if they did get into something they weren't supposed to, say they bypassed whatever security, it would do screenshots of their screen, email it to the admin. The first couple times, wouldn't worry about it. People make mistakes, people stumble upon stuff, whatever happens, right? Third time, that's when we would call a visit, set up a time, and have screenshots with the timestamp of their computer when it happened, to where we could prove what was going on. Or, a lot of times too, though, even then it was an educational thing. They just need to learn how to do something. Or maybe they really, truly needed access to something, and their boss, for whatever reason, didn't have the foresight to let us give them access. And so from that little scenario I just told you, they got access to something they needed to do their work. I've seen it to where people don't have access to something, so they get an admin friend of theirs to give them access, and then that causes problems. Okay? Granted, people, if they need something to get their work done, they should have it. And so obscurity, simplicity, big time on that. The older I'm getting, the more simple I'm getting as far as networking goes. Keep it simple, stupid, basically. You want it to keep not only for yourself, but also to pass it on to whoever is going to take over for you one day in your place of business, place of work. But not only that, but if you ever take vacation, if you're ever, sick, someone can fill in your shoes fairly easy. You've got a step-by-step plan of how things go on a day in, day out basis. And so you want to keep it kind of simple. And then also all these will help in the defense. So layering basically means Information security is going to have should have some type of layering in its security. On a physical example of what I'm talking about, say you have in the middle of a room a safe in the middle of a room, and this is kind of a top view down. You've got around that safe a room that is secure by maybe a steel door, and it has a biometrics scan. We'll say a bioscan, and maybe it has a voice activated scan as well to enter in. Okay? So this is what we're wanting to secure, which is a safe. So this is the layering here of security that we have. That's actual layer right outside of it, though. There's another layer, though, outside of this, though. This could be actually a hallway, and then here is another door that has a person sitting at it that checks everybody, physically checks everybody's badges, not just a computer checking it or a scanner checking it. Somebody physically checks that badge on a day in, day out basis. Because technology or equipment does fail, and maybe it has a lot of false positives or false negatives as well. And so this kind of helps that here. One defense mechanism may be relatively easy on an attacker to circumvent. Instead, a system must be that has layers. It's unlikely for that attack to happen. So, given this example here of network security, a person might be able to possibly do a replica of a fingerprint authentication and maybe even voice. You know, you give a voice synthesizer or electronic device to replicate that. But they might not be able to get by Susan, who knows this person by heart every day. Who knows who they are. And so that layering is really essential, to have some type of layering. They can't get by this one, they're not going to get to this one. Layering approach can be useful in resisting a variety of attacks. Layering security provides the most comprehensive protection. Limiting. This is limiting access to information, reduces the threat against it. A lot of companies, I think I mentioned this Tuesday, give administrator rights to everybody upon hire, which is pretty scary. Only those who must use data should be able to access that data. In addition, the amount of access granted to someone should be limited to what the person needs to know. And so a constant updating of security is important in a business, especially when folks move around from department to department, new hires, people getting fired, people quitting, whatever. And you have to have a person on top of it, or more than one person, that's continually checking these on a daily basis. And have rules set up, like say when a person gets hired, within 24 hours, they have their phone set up, their network or their network account set up. Somebody physically goes and talks to them and gets them going on their computer and on their phone systems. All of these things take organization, and they also take teamwork. And say the person that's supposed to do it is sick. Can somebody pitch in for them? And so some ways to limit access are technology-based, while others are procedural-based type of limitation. Diversity. Layers must be different or diverse. If attackers penetrate one layer, they cannot use the same techniques to break through all layers. In the honeypot scenario I told you about earlier, the honeypot scenario actually is this, as far as computer networks go. You have here an outer circle, and we'll say on this outer circle is where the honeypot is, inner circle, and then finally your data that you're wanting to protect. The honeypot's purpose is this, and again, the honeypot could have maybe multiple ports that are open. It's got multiple backdoor attacks that are available. It looks from an attacker that this machine here, this server, whatever it is you've set it up on, is primed to get into the network. It's primed. So they get in. As soon as they come into the network, on honeypots, there's actually applications that will do what's called a quarantine of an IP address immediately, and that quarantine of an IP address might do a couple things. It might email immediately, text immediately, an admin or admins of the situation. We've got an IP address now quarantined. Somebody's got into the honeypot computer. They've captured where they're at in the location of the, maybe it's on a Wi-Fi network. It's a lot of honeypots do this. And so they can trace by which access point that they've connected to around about where they're at in their business, location-wise. Now, if they're hardwired in, if they're actually plugged into an Ethernet port, it makes it even easier where they're at. But, so they get captured here, and they might actually be in the parking lot. We'll say they're in the parking lot too, through a Wi-Fi. They get into the honeypot. Now, when they get into this layer here, once they get past the honeypot, they're going to try to penetrate this layer next. Since this one was easy, they think, well, the second one's going to be even easier. Okay, the second one's going to be even easier. Well, they start doing whatever it is that that maybe they might see. In this one, it might have been a port to an FTP port 21 that they got through, an open, secure, unsecure port. They see on this one, maybe I'll try that one on that line too, that line of defense. As soon as they start attempting to get into this layer, that's when the attack is then quarantined totally and with a record of what they've done, and then that's where businesses can then take legal action. You have to let them sit here though on the honeypot side for a while, and generally they won't do anything if they just stay in here. But if they go past the honeypot layer, whatever that layer is, wherever it's at on your company, whether it be through an access point or through a server, through a computer, whatever. They get through that honeypot layer and then into the next layer, then you have actual motive. You see activity, you're recording that activity, and then you can go after them legally. Now again, all this might take time too. You might be able to capture all this within hours and get all the data you need, but we're just now in the court system and the law books getting caught up with, not even really caught up, just starting to realize the criminal aspects of cybercrime. And so, but most divisions, most big cities, Rockford has, like I said, a cybercrime division, has someone that can help you to get this started. And there's actual, we'll talk about the end of class, employment opportunities now for students who maybe want a little bit of both. They want to learn the technology stuff, but they want to get more into the law to put these criminals behind bars. But you have to have a technical background. And so a lot of students are actually getting a degree in IT, network security, Cisco, and then law firms are hiring these folks, then sending them to school, to law school, to finish up their law degree, and then they use you, usually sign a contract for 2 to 5 years while they're sending you to school, say, we'll send you to school, but you got to work for us for 5 years. But they're going to use you in these court cases because you have the mindset and the mentality and the smarts to be able to help them with their cases. Does that make sense? So some of you might be interested in something like that. And that's, in the last year, a lot of Chicago law firms are hiring network security students right out of college. Right out of college. Pay off your school loan, pay for any law that you need educated in, to use you as an expert witness for their law firm. So pretty sweet deal. And again, a lot of the Chicago law firms are getting into that. Now, diverse layers of defense means breaching one security layer does not compromise the whole system, just like the honeypot does not compromise the whole system, it just compromises the honeypot. That's it. An example of security, obscurity, would be not revealing the type of computer, operating system, software, and network a computer uses. What I've done in the past also is make it to where you want them to know what type of network they're on, operating system software, but the type you tell them is totally wrong. It's a lie. It's not real. You just make it up. Okay? You're just making it up for them to think that this is really, they've gotten onto something really big. Attacker who knows the information can be more easily determine the weakness of the system to attack it. Obscuring information can be an important way to protect information. And then simplicity. Information security is, by its very nature, complex. Complex security systems can be hard to understand, troubleshoot, and feel secure about. As much as possible, secure systems should be a simple one for those on the inside to understand and use. Complex security schemes are often compromised to make them easier for trusted users to work with. An example is keeping a system simple from the inside but complex on the outside can sometimes be difficult but reaps major benefits. Over the years, that's kind of what I've come to believe and practice. Making a simple system inwardly in the company and then externally very difficult to penetrate. Not impossible, but very difficult to penetrate. Okay, now let's talk about careers. How many of you are interested in any type of network or network security career? You're in that, or you're going to be in that, or you want to be in that? Okay, great. Well, tons of jobs out there. I mean, even the job market the way it is today, there's still quite a few technology jobs, even around this area. Between, I'd say, with a 100-mile radius of right here, there's plenty of jobs available. From both opening intern jobs from Madison, Wisconsin, all the way down to downtown Chicago. Okay? And now, granted, these jobs start out entry-level pay. When I say entry-level pay, depending on where you live, like Madison, Chicago area is going to be a lot higher than, say, if you start an entry-level job here in Rockford, okay, just because of the cost of living. Today, business organizations require employees and even prospective applications to demonstrate they're familiar with computer security practices. There's a CompTIA Security Plus test, and I believe the book used to have last semester in the back of it a certification information. If you're interested in taking this, let me know. I have some more information for you. Software to help you get ready for the test. It's a middle ground test. It's not a Cisco test or Microsoft. It's a middle ground Security Plus certification. And this one is a great one to get under your belt. It's a wide-ranging security certification. A lot of companies will actually hire you with a certification and then pay for your other certifications that you might want to go get, like would be a Cisco certification, or if they're a Microsoft shop, either one, they pay for that certification for you to get that certification. And you won't have to put it out of your pocket. And so you might think about that while you're beginning your networking career at school. The CompTIA Security Plus, when I took it years ago, and it's changed, but I still studied for it for maybe a couple months. And the testing is adaptive testing, meaning if you're weak in an area, it hammers on that area in the test. If you're strong on that area, it realizes that at about 3 or 4 questions and then switches it to something else. Cisco tests are like that now too. And so the software that you can get to get ready for this, the testing software, I think I got, at that time, they told us to get around 90 percentile, 95 percentile on the testing, and you should be ready to go. And it worked. I would say the same applies today. On any prep software that you take, if you get around a 90, 95 percentile continually in all areas, all categories, you're good to go. I know since you're working full-time and going to school full-time, now it's probably not time to do it. You might want to do it in the summer months, possibly. Like take the month of June and July and say, I'm going to get this certification. Done. And then maybe in the fall semester, start your Cisco classes, possibly. Might be a good idea. And again, companies do hire with that certification. Types of information security jobs, tons of them out there. There's a superset of Information security, including that does not include computers. It could be folks who go into asset management, where you go in and you're really not into the network or building secure networks. You're into the inventory part of it. Okay, inventory computers, switches, routers, Wi-Fi setup, training, all that good stuff. If you're a numbers person and like to create spreadsheets, but you're techie as well, and you want to know enough about it to understand what it is all the IT guys and gals are doing, this might be a place for you to be. Because it basically has a broad area of technology, and it's more in the risk management, and we actually have one lesson or two lessons, I believe, I know one for sure, where you guys do a risk management assessment. And when we do that lesson, you'll know if you want to do that or not for a living. It's basically taking all the hardware in your entire organization, putting a dollar sign on every piece of hardware, and then securing that information, or securing that with a security policy or insurance policy, and then having rules and regs set up for those devices. Okay. The third one there, the third line, third paragraph, it also includes reliability, strategic risk management, corporate governance and issuing, such as privacy, compliance, audits, business continuity, disaster recovery. You know, most businesses don't do any of that third paragraph. They don't have a disaster recovery plan in place. What if the building burned down tonight? What are you going to do? Do we have a disaster? Is it tape backups off-site? Do we have an off-site location already planned just in case? How about restoring the data and being back? How long would it take for us to get back in business if, God forbid, a building burned down? You have to have a disaster recovery plan. So somebody doing that. I know here on campus we do that every year. Go to Colorado, 2 or 3 folks go there and set up and take tapes with them, restore it. And then here in Rockford, some locations in Rockford, they have communication with that campus and see how long it takes to get up and running and communication going. So student records, admissions, all the good stuff. All taking all the tapes from here and restoring them. And so that's a big part. And it is a real job, and it's something that a lot of companies are, you know, if I was to say what area is IT lacking in and students going into, it'd probably have to be this risk management, auditing, and disaster recovery area. Because people think, that's kind of boring. Okay? And it probably is. Okay? But some of you really might fit well into that. It might not be boring to you. Numbers might be exciting to you. And Excel spreadsheets might make you jump for joy. If that's you, then, and it might be you, don't feel bad. That's a great, we have to have those jobs. We have to have those people doing that stuff. Interdisciplinary individuals who are employed and may come from different fields of study. And so you might say, for instance, as I already mentioned, the law degree, IT degree, a lot of that's going on today. Okay? IT degree, construction. Why is that big now? A lot of construction firms are hiring IT folks to have knowledge base because all the buildings and houses and everything they're building are more and more being integrated with technology. From the front door to the bathroom, basically. Everything's got electronics now. And so they have experts in technology, experts in setting up a whole house of lights upon electronic computer system. Information security, also called computer security, involves tools and tactics to defend against computer attacks. Does not include security issues that do not include computers. This would be in some information security category only, the computer category only. 2 broad categories, and these positions would be a managerial position and a tech position. That's pretty basic right there. There's a lot of other ones, but if you can narrow down to 2 within IT, For security, you're going to be either a manager or you're going to be a tech person. Now that tech person can range from supervisor to other techs, whatever, but one of those two you're going to fall into. Now manager is just that. You know the area that you're managing. You might not be an expert in every area the people you're managing, but you know it enough to manage those folks. And not everybody that's an expert can manage. Not everybody that's an expert in whatever can manage. Same goes for a manager, just because not everybody's a manager. A good manager can do the job of, say, the expert in whatever area. Okay? And so if you are a techie who likes to you like to do work on your own or in small groups, and you're happy with that you're fine with that, you thrive in that, more than likely you're going to fall in the technical position. But if you're a person that likes to kind of, lead people, or you have got a lot of ideas on team building and you want people to work well together and you want systems to work well together for the entire organization, if you think like that, you're probably not going to be satisfied with a technical position. You're going to want a managerial position because you're going to want to make change. Okay? So if you're that type of person, I'd say go for that. As far as degrees, as far as certificates, both generally have the same. No different. It's where you feel your skill set falls in. Okay? Skill sets will push you towards one of the two. And probably right now as I'm talking about it, you already know what skill set you're in. You know if you're a manager type or if you're just a technical position. And you can be happy, you need to be happy with whichever position it is. Now you might start out in a technical position, but your goal is to be manager. More than likely you will start out in a technical position, in 4 or 5 years become a manager in another location or that location. Make sense? Same with technical positions. You start out in a technical position somewhere that pays, say, $12 an hour here in Rockford. Not bad, starting out in Rockford. And 2 years from now, you get upgraded and move to Madison possibly, and they pay you $25 an hour. Okay, possible, happens all the time. And so you're continually moving up. The job burnout for IT, I'd say 3 or 4 years ago, was about 2.5 to 3 years. It's gotten actually better. And I think the reason it's gotten better is the caliber of people like you guys wanting to go into this field. You know what you want, you're driven, you're willing to learn, and so because of that, you don't burn out as much. You don't. Not only that is you've grown up, when I mean you guys that are under, or 35 and under in here, you've grown up in a society that, the average mom and dad or brother, sister, on average, their jobs were 5 to 10 years, 5 years maybe, max, for most, all careers, all degrees, all walks of life. And so you're not stressed out by that. That does not stress you out. Now, my generation was a little stressed out by that. My dad's generation was really stressed out when it started shifting from the 20, 30-year employee to the 5-year employee. That really stressed people out. But you guys, I'm not too bad about that, but you guys definitely, your generation, 35 and under, don't have a problem with that. And so generally in IT, 3 to 5 years is the general range today, right now, 2012, of if you're happy with your job when you get hired and they're happy with you, that's generally the length that you'll stay. Generally. There's exceptions to that, meaning less than 3 years and more than 5 years. But I'd say the general is 3 to 5 years. And then what happens? Well, you move on to something better after 5 years. What I mean better is it might not even be better pay. It might just be a better position that you've always wanted. Okay? Or you start your own business. A big one today for IT folks to do is, work 3 or 5 years in the field, and then they become a consultant. I know a kid that's 24 years old, goes to Purdue. He's a graduate of Purdue now. He's a contract programmer for who needs help creating a Windows program. He has an apartment near Purdue still. Another guy lives with him, and he's a programmer as well. He has on average 10 clients a week for the last 2 years, $1,000 per client a week. Kid's only 24 years old. He worked for somebody for a year or two as a programmer and said, I'll start on my own. He's doing great. He's doing wonderful. He can be in Florida and work, and go to Colorado and work, California and work. And so you don't have to be boxed into a place anymore either. That's changed. A big field is consulting. Companies are more willing to hire consultants today than they are to hire you sometimes, a physical person, because of all the overhead that's involved. And you say, well, that kind of scares me, that consulting thing. And it, to be truthful, I don't like it either. It scares me. I've not been brave enough to do it. I've thought about it over the years, but I'm like, I don't really know if I want to do that or not. I've helped guys that are consultants, and I've done consulting myself. So what I do is this, and I still do this in the summer. You can do both. You can have a full-time job, and then you can consult on the side. That's the best of both worlds, because you have a steady income at whatever job you're working at, and then you're consulting. Now, which pays better? Well, when you're doing it, consulting pays better. Average, the closer you get towards Madison, the higher your pay is. 2 summers ago, I had a programming job. It was for a gold certificate company that needed to convert an Access database to a VB database, and they paid me $65 an hour for 3 months in the summer. It was crazy. It was the easiest job I'd ever had in my life. But they were willing to pay it. They had the money. They liked my skill set. I just went in. They showed me what I needed to do, and I just did it. And so, now granted, I didn't start out at that pay scale, but after about 15 years of doing consulting work, that's what I got up to. And so, a lot of you guys can do that as well. You can do consulting on the side and networking. And what I always tell students, this second session in class, to really encourage you, is get involved in whatever business you can that needs help. Don't worry right now about getting paid for it, because I've never done anything for free that didn't pay for itself someplace down the road in networking. Never. I've never done anything for free that didn't pay something somewhere down the road. Seriously, because you could be working, I don't know, helping a school out install printers, and here comes a CEO of Fat Wallet. This actually happened. Rock Valley College student was working there. The guy hired the kid for $55,000 right on the spot. He wasn't even expecting it. He was just, helping out a school. And so, you can, whatever you do, it's gonna pay back. And not only that, but it's gonna look good on your resume. Because I'll share another story. A guy here in town that runs a bank IT department. Had 2 guys come in for an interview. One was very well qualified on paper, a lot of certifications, but pretty much every Cisco certification you can get with networking, he had. The other guy was about 10 years younger. This first guy was probably about 38, 40. Second guy was probably about 23, 24 years old. Had like a Network Plus certification type thing under his belt. Had 1 job. He worked part-time. He was going to school at Rock Valley. Anyway, the first guy came in that had all the certificates. When the IT manager walked in, this guy had his feet up on the desk of this guy he was supposed to be interviewing. So first off, he was like thrown off by it, because he's all cocky because he had all the certification. He thought, this is a no-brainer. I'm going to get this job. It's nothing. So he talked to the guy. He said, well, thank you for your time. But he told me, he said, right, when I saw the guy's foot on my desk, it was over. As soon as I saw that, I didn't even hear what he said after that. And so anyway, the second kid came. The kid came in, and I call him by a kid that's under 30. So anyway, kid came in, very respectful, said, hey, I don't know much. I've got this. I went to Rock Valley. He talked about his professors. He had me, had Conley, had Weir, Lyle, Franz, all of us. And this guy knew all of us. In fact, the guy that managed it actually went through Cisco classes here. Anyway, The kid said, well, I don't have much experience. I have book smarts, but I haven't got a chance for somebody to give me a chance to work, basically. And he goes, well, here's what we're going to be doing. Are you willing to learn this, this, and this if you don't already know it? And the kid goes, yeah. And he goes, you're hired. He spent 6 months training him what it is that he didn't know how to do with the best guy he had on the team that is a good trainer. This kid's still there working. I still call him a kid because he's under 30 still. And so, that happens. And so you guys, even though, and this student had actually done a lot of volunteer work at schools here on campus, student worker. So whatever it is, there's opportunity right now in your influence that you're in right now, your group of friends, family, associates, that probably could use computer help of some type. 5 hours a week. I'll devote 5 hours a week. I'll volunteer it. I'll give it. Another opportunity I'll end with is Entree Computers here in town. Still, and I'll get their calendar for you guys by next Thursday. Has a dinner training type of thing where they have companies come in and demo, say, the newest whatever, newest IP, voice over IP phone possibly might be an example. And the companies come in and demo it, and Entree brings in pizza and pop, and so you got business folks that are looking for this equipment. You've got students that come in, like you guys, that want to see the equipment, but also you're intermingling with business folks that need help or could need help. And so if you go to all these events, there's a good chance that you'll rub shoulders with a person that could need help down the road. So Entree is a good resource for you. And I'll find that calendar and probably just put it on the website for us so you guys can get to it and find out all the events. There's also some other, as the semester goes on, usually 2 or 3 networking events, either here in Rockford or in the Chicago area, that I'll tell you about, and I'd recommend going to any of those as well. So anytime you can get to any free technology conferences or events like Entree puts on, do it. Make time in your schedule to do it, because you'll get, inevitably what will happen is you'll get to know these guys. Somebody will quit at their work, and you just talked to him last night at the event or whatever. They've got your cell number, you've got a job. Okay, so that's how it works. Every job I've gotten has pretty much happened like that. It's through networking of folks I've known, because when I first got hired here in Rockford, I lived in Springfield, Missouri. And the guy I worked for at the time was over accrediting. He credited schools, private schools, and I was his manager for the office. Was not even working in IT at the time. I just got through school and was going to go into teaching. And anyway, superintendent knew my boss. He needed a director over IT in the computer science department at Rockford Christian here in town. So that's how I got my job here over 14 years ago. And so, by just keeping the networks involved, continuing those feelers out there, figuring out what schools, there's tons of schools in Rockford, not just private schools, but public schools. And I know some of you are afraid of public schools, I don't blame you, but they do need help, okay? And they do need volunteers to help them, because they don't have a lot of money. They don't give them a lot of money. And so, it's a great learning, because you can take what we learn here, or if you take a Cisco class or PCT110 networking, and apply actually what you're learning there. And that's really exciting, because you get to actually do something with it. And that's where you're going to really learn the most. And so I encourage you to do that this semester while you're, if you can carve out 5 hours a week, find some place to volunteer. It will definitely pay off somewhere down the road. It'll look good on your resume. It looks good to employers too, because they know you're willing to help others and also learn. You're willing to learn. What they don't like to see, and I've been on that side where I've hired employees, is people that think they know it all, and you're not going to train. You're not trainable, or I'm settling for this job. You don't help others. You don't volunteer. All that is really negative on you. And so, to be as most positive as I can be, you need, while you're here at Rock Valley, use the resources we have here. We've actually got a website up that Jim Conley and I have worked on, and it's public right now. It needs updated, but we're going to post on there jobs that are available, and I'll kind of showcase it next week for you because I don't want to showcase it tonight because I've not actually looked at it in a couple weeks, and so I'll showcase it for you next week. But it has on there jobs that are available that we get from other companies coming into Rock Valley, and then also we're putting on their feedback from from employers that have used students from Rock Valley, positive feedback of, hey, we hired this folk and these people, now they're doing this and this for us. It's great. And so I'll make that available next week and show you how to get to it, and you can keep on that and keep active. And then anytime you guys know of jobs, we have that Q&A discussion board in our class. You can post it in there. Say, hey, this isn't my area, but maybe somebody might be interested in that. Post it. Okay? So whatever job you can get that has to do anything with technology or volunteer, right now, don't worry about the pay as far as, making a lot of money. Just volunteer 5 hours a week, and it'll definitely pay off tremendously. And you'll learn a lot, too. So, and, a lot of times, the people I've helped over the years still call me if they need help. They've helped me, with other jobs and contract jobs and stuff like that. And so it all pays off. Okay? So did everybody get a CD when you walked in? Raise your hand if you did not get a CD. Okay? I passed these out right at the beginning of class. This is for the lab. Raise your hand again so I can know how many to give out. This is for the lab next Thursday, the NT Reset Lab. Pass one down. 3. Any on this row? Everybody have them? Okay. Oh, did I give it? Yeah, definitely. So put this in a safe place. Hopefully bring a 3-ring binder. That one looks better. And a plastic sleeve to put these in so they don't break. Otherwise, we are done. Any questions on what's due coming up? Yes? The attendance pin is right here. I wrote up there on the board. So yeah, if you didn't come here, the attendance pin is up here before you go. All right, we're done. We'll see you guys next week. If you have any questions, come see me.